He learned early to value what did not move. Not from fear. From repetition. The apartment stayed the same for years. The job did too. The schedule was predictable. Morning. Transport. Desk. Lunch at the same time. Return. Nothing was wrong. That was the point. Stability did not ask questions. It did not interrupt. It did not require attention. At first, he noticed small details. A light that flickered. A colleague who stopped speaking during meetings. A delayed response to emails. These things registered. Briefly. Then they stopped doing that. He trusted what had worked before. The system had proven itself. Rent was paid. The salary arrived. The body moved through the week without resistance. There was no moment of decision. No clear shift. Just a quiet assumption that continuity meant safety. Checking felt unnecessary. Almost rude. Like doubting something that had never failed him. He stopped asking if things were still aligned. Not because he disagreed. Because nothing demanded it. Days passed cleanly. Without friction. Without urgency. He did not feel trapped. He felt settled. Attention slowly narrowed. Not as loss. As efficiency. He focused only on what required action. Bills. Deadlines. Simple plans. Everything else remained in the background. Unexamined. Untouched. The absence of change felt like confirmation. And confirmation felt like proof. So he continued. Not forward. Just onward. And nothing interrupted that motion. With time, the days blended. Not into confusion. Into smoothness. He became efficient at not noticing. The routine absorbed minor disruptions. A change in management. A new policy email. Different faces at nearby desks. These were adjustments. Not signals. He adapted without reflection. Learned new procedures. Accepted revised expectations. Signed documents without reading past the first lines. Everything still functioned. That mattered more than understanding. There was a quiet relief in that. Attention costs energy. Stability offered rest. He told himself he was being practical. Focused. Adult. Long-term plans remained vague. Not avoided. Just postponed. There was always time later. When something actually changed. He noticed his conversations shrinking. Less explanation. More agreement. Nodding became easier than asking. Silence easier than clarification. At home, objects stayed where they were placed. Furniture untouched. Drawers unopened. He could move through the space in the dark. That felt like mastery. Occasionally, a thought appeared. A brief sense of misalignment. It passed quickly. There was no discomfort strong enough to hold on to. No evidence demanding response. Stability had become a filter. Anything that fit passed through. Anything that did not was ignored. He trusted the continuity more than his perception. If something were wrong, it would announce itself. Clearly. Loudly. Until then, observation felt optional. So he conserved it. Used attention only where required. Work. Logistics. Surface maintenance. The rest stayed untouched. Not hidden. Just unexamined. The system continued to function. And that seemed sufficient. Over time, the sense of choice thinned. Not disappeared. Just softened. Decisions arrived already shaped. He accepted them in their final form. Office restructuring. New metrics. Adjusted roles. They were presented as updates. Not questions. He adapted again. Quietly. Without resistance. There was no pressure to object. Everything was reasonable. Explained. Documented. He stopped distinguishing between agreement and compliance. Both produced the same outcome. At some point, he noticed fatigue. Not physical. Cognitive. Paying attention felt heavier than before. Not difficult. Just unnecessary. The cost of noticing outweighed the benefit. Nothing changed when he did. So he let details pass. Assumed alignment. Trusted that important things would surface on their own. Relationships followed the same pattern. Long conversations shortened. Check-ins became confirmations. "I'm fine" replaced explanation. And it was accurate enough. He measured well-being by absence of disruption. If there was no conflict, there was no problem. Plans for the future stayed abstract. Open. Unpressured. He did not feel delayed. He felt patient. The environment rewarded this posture. Consistency was valued. Reliability praised. Questioning looked inefficient. Slowness disguised as caution. So he remained steady. Predictable. Easy to work with. There was comfort in that identity. It required little effort. Little attention. And the longer it held, the less reason there seemed to look beyond it. The changes did not arrive suddenly. They accumulated. A responsibility added here. A boundary shifted there. A task that used to belong to someone else. Each adjustment was small. Easily justified. Temporary. He accepted them one by one. Without recording the pattern. There was no clear moment when his role became something else. Only a gradual expansion. More output. Same position. He noticed the calendar filling. Meetings extending. Breaks compressing. It felt like momentum. Not pressure. At home, evenings shortened. Meals simplified. Rest postponed. He told himself this phase would pass. It usually did. But the pace stayed. Quietly. He began to rely more on habit than awareness. Moved through tasks automatically. Completed them correctly. Without reflection. Attention narrowed further. Only errors stood out. Only failures interrupted. As long as things worked. He did not ask how. Occasionally, he felt distant from his own schedule. As if it belonged to someone else. The sensation was brief. Easily dismissed. There was no crisis. No collapse. Just a subtle shift in ownership. Of time. Of energy. He was still functioning. Still dependable. That mattered more than understanding. What had changed? Nothing broke. That was what made it difficult to name. The structure still held. Work continued. Income arrived. The days remained full. From the outside, it looked intact. Even successful. He noticed a growing distance. Not from others. From evaluation. He no longer checked if the pace suited him. Only if he could maintain it. Questions felt abstract. Unnecessary. Out of scope. There was a quiet trade that had already been made. Stability in exchange for attention. Not consciously. Not once. Repeatedly. He moved through routines with precision. Without presence. Even dissatisfaction arrived muted. As information. Not emotion. He recognized it the way one notices weather. Acknowledged. Then ignored. There was no desire to undo anything. Nothing had gone wrong. But there was a subtle understanding. That something had been left unobserved. For a long time. Not lost. Not damaged. Just unattended. And because it had never demanded urgency, it remained where it was. Waiting.